I was trying to speak to a very wide audience. And as time has gone on, I've gotten more comfortable just saying what's true for me. And if someone gets it, they gets it. And if they don't, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But I stopped holding back on the things that I was passionate about talking about or that I knew would help the right people.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues, the podcast where we interview business owners on how they built their businesses and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is David Wynn, and I'm a business coach and the founder of Purposeful, where we help business owners achieve their first 6-figure, 7-figure, and 8-figure year, all without sacrificing their quality of life. Before becoming a business coach and before founding Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses and have been a consultant at several businesses doing over $100 million each, including some that are publicly listed and doing over $1 billion each. In every episode of the podcast, you're going to learn lessons that took our guests years to learn, and you'll be able to learn that in minutes. No matter if you're a new business owner or an established business owner, every episode is going to give you the clues in order to elevate your business.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Callie Ryan, founder of Anchor Meditation, a mindset, leadership, and empowerment coaching practice she built in San Francisco starting in 2017. A former corporate executive, Callie blends neuroscience, mindfulness, and energy psychology in her one-on-one and corporate work. And she's been featured in outlets like Candace Georgiades' Women in Wellness series. Welcome to the show, Callie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you, and a little bit about myself. I'm kind of a comic book nerd, okay? So I love the first edition, the origin story, right? So I would love for us to rewind a bit because every coach has that moment where they look at their life and say, yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing now, right, Callie? So when was that for you?
Yeah, so for me, that was actually about 10 years ago. I was 39 years old, and I was in a really challenging situation with my boss at work, and I was struggling in my marriage, and I was having health problems, and I just sadly had the recognition that nobody else was going to be able to get myself out of that situation or those situations other than me beginning to help myself and take better care of myself. So I went for my 40th birthday to a retreat. And while I was there, I attended a mindfulness class, and the teacher said, that if you're spending a lot of time wishing other people or circumstances or situations were different or better than they are, you are living in the past. And if you're having anxiety and worrying about and catastrophizing all the worst case scenarios that might play out in the future, you're living in the future, and both of those things, you're preventing yourself from the joy of the present moment. And I was like, oh no, I'm doing all of those things a lot of the time. I could just recognize that really quickly. So I began meditating. I took some meditation classes while I was there, and I had a really kind of profound awakening experience. And I made myself a promise that when I returned home from the retreat, I was going to continue meditating for 5 or 10 minutes every morning before my husband at the time and young kids got up and got our day started. And within a couple of weeks, I started being able to be way less reactive in my relationship with my boss, which really helped things at work begin to improve. And I also began noticing drastic improvements to my health related to an autoimmune condition I had been experiencing. And what I've learned since then is that, stress causes inflammation, and inflammation is the root cause of almost all diseases. And so it makes a lot of sense that when I started meditating, my physical body began to harmonize more. My stress was reduced. My inflammation was reduced. My autoimmune condition improved drastically. So that kind of got me on the path to meditation. And eventually I decided to leave my commercial real estate financing career of 18 years to open a meditation studio in San Francisco. And I did that in 2018. And then kind of one thing led to another. And due to COVID, the studio had to be closed for quite a long time. And during the time that it was open, I had the opportunity to become certified as a meditation teacher, a breathwork facilitator, and a Reiki healer. And I decided I would choose to go into private coaching and shut the studio down before the end of COVID.
Oh, wow. What a journey. I love that. Okay. Now I have a couple questions for you because you closed the studio, right? The meditation studio, and then you went into coaching.
Yeah.
And can you walk us through that shift? Because what I'm curious about actually is like, how do you transition that? Because in the early days, for most coaches, sometimes we're giving some advice here and there, right? People reach out to us. We're like, hey, you should do X, Y, and Z, or I think this could be, or whatever that looks like, or coach him now. I don't want to judge. But eventually we realize, okay, I'm actually building a real business around coaching, right? So can you walk us through that transition from meditation studio to coaching, and how did that play out for you?
Yeah, it was definitely an unexpected turn on my journey, but I'm so thankful that it happened. And so when I left my career in commercial real estate financing to open the meditation studio, I just had the intention of being the owner of the studio and operating a small business and creating a community where other people could have easier access to meditation practices, with the hopes that they would be helped as much as I had. And having the studio was an amazing experience. We had about 20 different teachers and we had a whole membership model, and it was a really great community, and a lot of people were helped through that studio. However, what I didn't realize is that, meditation teachers sometimes take such good care of themselves that they would call in and say, oh, I have a headache this morning, and so I'm not going to be in to teach class or something like that. And then I would be at the studio with 30 people showing up for class, and I couldn't teach meditation at the time. So I really signed up for these certifications only with the idea that I would substitute when, on an as needed basis. And then when COVID happened, we switched all of our classes to be online, and I had already been certified. And so I started teaching online classes along with all of the other teachers because there was just such a need. People were struggling, and I knew that I had something that I could offer to help. And over the first year and a half of COVID, San Francisco was really shut down for that entire time. And so I had the opportunity to connect with people both in groups online and in one-on-one settings. And I just realized how deeply fulfilling it is to be, have the opportunity to be a guide on someone's side and to kind of illuminate the path that had helped me by sharing it with others. And I guess recognizing that we all suffer in similar ways, and healing is possible for all of us. And really, we are more powerful than we've been led to believe in terms of our power to create our life and create vibrant health and wealth and healthy relationships in our lives.
Interesting. Okay. Now, after you got rolling with your coaching business, right, with Anchor Meditation, right, 9 years ago, I understand in the early days, at least for most coaches out there, there's an evolution of who we start serving and who we serve now, right? We start to sharpen the blade. We start to attract certain kind of individuals that we realize, okay, I can actually help the most these type of people. Not saying that happened to you, but my question to you is, could you walk me through the evolution of who you started serving and who do you serve now, Callie?
Yeah, I love that question. So it has evolved from sort of, I think when I first started out, I felt, meditation helps everyone and I can help any age. And I've been certified as a teacher for children as well. And I had young kids and everything. So I just started by making a web page talking about a 3-month coaching package. And luckily my first couple that reached out to me became my first clients and are still my clients today. And they had recently gotten married and they both have really intense careers. The female as a tech entrepreneur and the male as a partner in a financial services firm. And so I have primarily worked with high achievers or high capacity individuals. But the cool thing that has evolved over time in working with them for now, I don't know, 5 years or so, is that they have when I first started coaching them, it was their first year of marriage, and now they have become parents. And I, during that time, have become an empty nester. My kids both became adults and moved away for college. And I feel like I have a lot of wisdom to share with parents. And I feel the impact is even more meaningful when I can help parents become more conscious and break unhealthy patterns that are in all families and not pass those down to their children. And so I got really excited when they had a baby about a year ago. And at that time, I've started working a lot more directly with parents and also doing some consulting with local schools and parent, I guess it's PAs, parent administrations, maybe that's what that stands for, doing some training on mindfulness and compassion and leadership and empowerment. So that has been really fulfilling.
So if I got it right, we have a B2C, a business to consumer, when we also have a B2B on a business to business side.
Yeah, exactly. I help, individuals, families, leaders, and communities create change from the inside out.
Okay. So let's pretend, little game of pretend here that I like doing, Callie. Let's pretend I'm your avatar, your ICP, or your client profile. Okay. I'm a high achiever, a leader, whatever that looks like. So first of all, how would I be able to find you, Callie, marketing wise?
Most of my new clients find me through word of mouth referrals. I'm lucky that I had a pretty big email list from the meditation studio. So there was some built-in recognition, and I have a podcast called Aligned and Alive from Within with Kelly Ryan. And so sometimes people find me through my podcast, but yeah, most of the time people find me through existing clients that refer their friends and family to me. And I have tried Facebook ads and Google ads, and I haven't been able to crack the code with them. And I have found it more effective to actually get involved in my local community through the schools or through offering workshops and yoga studios or wellness studios. And really that meeting people in person in a community that I'm already part of is a better way of getting clients for me.
All right. Still in the game of pretend. Okay. So let's say I was referred to work with you. I went to a local, you went to the local community. I was there. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Or I was listening to your podcast even, and by the way, I'm feeling the pressure already, right? A fellow podcast host. Okay. I'll try to work around here. But anyhow, what you got out there actually resonated with me, right? So I did the outreach. I'm like, hey, Callie, would love to know more, and we can speed up the sales process or not. If you want to add a side note there, totally fine. The real question behind the question here is, can you walk me through, have just a sense, a peek behind the curtain of how does it look like to work with you and your business with Anchor Meditation and the outcomes they can expect, you know?
Yeah, thank you. So, I work with people by bringing into their awareness um, various aspects of how our nervous system works, how our stress responses work, and bringing subconscious beliefs and emotions and uh, energy and identity in a blend of science and soul. So I really help people move beyond anxiety and reactivity. And a lot of high achievers tend to be people pleasers or have patterns of self abandonment. And so I'm really helping them expand their capacity to receive more, to lead with presence, to take aligned action, and to create lives and relationships that feel calm and connected and purposeful and fully alive. And so usually during the first, few sessions, I'll get a pretty good insight into where people are, coming from, what's going on in their lives, and what their challenges and struggles are. And then I'll customize to meet exactly what I believe would be most effective in healing the parts of us that are based in fear or lack and scarcity, so that we can, see things less through a lens of fear and more through love, less as a sense of isolation and separation, and more as a sense of self who is connected to our own intuition. And also at the level of identification, a lot of us identify with our ego, which is our, fear-based, judgmental, false self. And as a result of that, we can have a lot of self-criticism, self-judgment, shaming ourselves, blaming other people. And so really learning to uh, have a more loving, kind, compassionate, understanding relationship with ourselves in those moments.
Love it. Okay. So, in a way, and I might be off here, but it sounds like there's a lot of synergy with the meditation part when you had the studio, right? With the coaching practice today. Is that a safe to assume?
Yeah, that's correct. Most of my sessions are an hour long, and I'll, begin by checking in with someone just similar as you would with a therapist, what's present in your life that in this moment, in this session. And then we'll have a little coaching conversation about that. And then depending what comes up, I'll move into either what I had planned to cover, taking them on the journey and kind of illuminating the next step on their path, or sometimes we veer a totally different direction based on what came up. And then I'll guide them through some sort of energy healing, breath work, meditation practice. And the purpose of that is, it's important for people to understand on a logical level why, what's the science, what's the psychology, what's the spiritual wisdom about whatever, forgiveness, compassion, manifestation, whatever the topic is. But then also to guide the client into deeper brainwave states, which is where we can reprogram our subconscious mind. Because a lot of us have been, conditioned to have beliefs that don't create great outcomes or great feelings within ourselves. The cool thing is that science shows that our brains can be rewired, they're moldable, and we can reprogram those subconscious beliefs by bringing them into our conscious awareness, and then offering ourselves new beliefs and practicing and repeating those new beliefs until they become our default habit.
Okay. So I have a question for you, right? And I think this really hits home for me because I did kind of a breath work here and there. I've been romanticizing the fact of starting to meditate, but I've never meditated myself. In a way,
Okay.
I feel like that's the hardest step, the first one to start meditating, because I'm kind of in my own, I'm in front of like in my own head, like in my own way, I would say. Like, sometimes asking myself, what's the point? What am I really doing? That type of self doubt. When you're through a process, you don't really know too much. So, my question to you is, for those newbies out there that are listening and they actually want to try it, right? But they are having a hard time, what would you give as a tip for them to start meditating or start, reflecting the fact of, hey, let me try this to see if just testing the waters, if they can actually do the thing. Do you have any tips out there for us?
Yes, I do. So, first of all, there is no wrong way to meditate, and it's awesome that you're even open minded about it. Anytime we pay attention to our breath on purpose, we're actually bringing our attention back from the past where it might have been wandering or the future where it might have been wandering, and bringing ourselves back into the present moment when we're paying attention to how we're breathing in the present moment, right here, right now. And the incredible thing is that when we elongate our exhale, we send signals to our nervous system that we're in a safe place and it's okay to rest and relax. Because if you think about it, if you were ever in a dangerous situation, if you were being held up at gunpoint or chased by a tiger or something, you you hold your breath and you run for it, right? So that's just our body's natural reaction when we're actually in danger. The issue today is that a lot of the times our brain makes us think we're in danger when the reality is we wouldn't be talking right now, you and I, if we were in danger. Nobody would be listening to this if they were in any sense of danger, right? They would be taking care of whatever needed to be taken care of. So anytime you notice your breath and pay attention to how you're breathing, you are meditating. You are bringing yourself into the present moment. And a lot of people think, oh, I can't meditate because I can't stop thinking. The purpose of meditation is not to stop thinking. Just like when we sit down to meditate, our heart keeps beating and our lungs keep breathing. Our mind keeps thinking. Our mind thinks 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So that's a thought every 1 to 3 seconds. And so all of us have a monkey mind. All of us have, a narrator that's judgmental and critical. My teacher calls it the itty bitty shitty committee in our head. And, there's nothing wrong with your thoughts, but the great thing about meditating, why it's such an important practice to cultivate, is because just like when you go to the gym and you lift a weight, and every time you do a bicep curl, you're strengthening your bicep. In meditation, every time your mind wanders off and you bring your attention back to this moment, right here, right now, this breath, we're strengthening our ability to notice our thoughts. And that's so important because a lot of us are passively following our thoughts all day and kind of becoming overwhelmed and untethered, right? We wake up and our first thought within 10 seconds of waking up is like, I didn't get enough sleep. I'm worried about money. I have, to do this, that, and the other today. And we just start following our thoughts and going about our day with overwhelm and being kind of jerked around by our random thoughts. When you take just even 2 minutes in the morning to meditate, you wake up you're in a deeper brainwave state when you wake up. So that's like the most powerful time of day is in the morning or in the evening when you're drifting off to sleep. You're literally programming yourself for the day. So it's a beautiful way to start your day by paying attention to your breath on purpose and setting an intention for what would I truly love for today? What thoughts do I want to think? What intentions do I want to have? Right. And you take back your power as the creator, the conscious creator of your life, who you have a choice whether to listen to those thoughts that are dragging you down or not. Right. Or choose a better thought.
Thank you. Okay. Love that. I'm taking some notes. Okay. Now moving forward, I have a question for you because you brought something very interesting, which is the meditation class. The teachers you're mentioning sometimes they weren't able to join you in your studio because they take care of their health, and I feel like it. I might be off here, you know, but I feel like a lot of people who are coaches, and even teachers on that scenario, they absorb so much energy from others, right? Because you're listening to their problems, you're listening, to their struggles and all of that. So my question to you is how to unload that so you regulate yourself and you don't get into their noise. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, there are many tools. I guess I would say the primary tool is just to have the intention, to understand our role is to support and be of service and be, I guess, like a channel who can help people reperceive difficult situations or circumstances that they may be facing through a higher perspective and through the lens of love, and just trusting that when you know that you're coming from love and when you know that your intention is to be of service, um, it's none of your business um, how it goes from there, right? It's understanding where you're coming from is a good place, and that everybody's having their own experience, and you can kind of, when you're looking at the client through their wholeness and their innocence and their power as the creator of their own lives, um, that I am not responsible for what they choose to do with it. So I am
So,
responsible for being the embodied presence of
mhm,
love and helping that, if they are open to, which obviously if you're a client of mine,
mhm.
you're open to, um, hearing what I have to say. But then what you do with it is up to you. And I've never really had like a disappointing situation with a client. But I don't tend to absorb what they're going through as if I could have done something differently or better.
Okay. So to me, if I got it right, you distance yourself a little bit personally from the outcome. It's more about if you're aligned and you have alignment with your intention and with your truth, and you're doing what you feel like it's right to the situation, the outcome is not so much important. And it's just like when I was in sales, right? And what really clicked for me was when I stopped thinking about closing a deal and I started thinking about serving someone. And I'm like, I'm just
Yeah,
going to serve them. If this is
exactly.
aligned, they will make the choice for them their own. If this makes sense, they will move forward. If not, it's all good. Something like that. Did I got it right?
Exactly. Exactly. Like I am at peace with wherever this goes because I know I'm coming from a loving place, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm 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 coaching them in a way that can uplift them and can give them new ways of seeing things and new paradigms with which to experience the world and everything, and then what they do with it is up to them.
Okay, got it. I like that. Um, I think you need some experience to really get it, what you mean. Like experienced that in sales, right? Sometimes it's almost, I always remember this Jim Carrey quote, but I'm going to butcher it anyway, but I'm going to say it. It's something like, it's about the outcome, like money, right? Some people chase money. And his like, I wish everyone get it so people can realize that's not the answer, right? Like the outcome, the money side, the material side is not necessarily the main thing. it's almost like a consequence, a symptom, if you're doing it with the right intention. I'm not sure if I'm making
Yes.
sense. I may be
Yes.
tripping.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's inevitable that the client is going to have incredible outcomes. It's not up to me to define the outcome that we desire, right? That has to
Mm.
come from within them. So I'm both a teacher and a student in all situations. So I'm never trying to get anyone to subscribe to my way of seeing things or believe the same things that I do. I'm trying to connect them with their inner knowing and their instincts as to what to do with what comes up in the sessions, and just kind of holding their hand and being a guide by their side. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Now, I would love for us to shift gears for a second, okay? Because I'm curious where you're taking anchor meditation, you know? So, future wise, looking ahead, where do you see the business going? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring, or is there a next step you're excited about?
Yeah. What I'm really excited about now is, like I said, the work that I'm doing in local school communities, with the parents associations, um, because children don't have the ability to regulate their nervous system. So they actually co regulate with their parents for quite a long time until the prefrontal cortex is fully developed in the mid 20s. And so for a long time, um, children will look to their parents to regulate their nervous system. And what I mean by that is, when you're learning an instrument, I remember when I was a little girl learning piano, I had a metronome that kept the beats for me. If you put a bunch of metronomes in a room together, if they're all keeping different beats, eventually they synchronize. It's just like that with actually not just our children, but anyone whose energy that we're in, we energy is very contagious. And so that's why when someone comes in a room and they're full of joy and radiance and sunlight, you can feel uplifted. And conversely, when someone comes into a room and they're moody and negative and brooding, it can really weigh you down and make you feel heavy or constricted. And so the best thing that there's that a quote, something about like, people won't remember the words that you said, but they'll remember the way that you made them feel.
Mm.
It's very similar with parents. When kids have a hard day at school, or a fight with a sibling, or get hurt feelings about something, or are being hard on themselves because they've been rejected or got a bad grade or whatever, they're learning a lot more from the parents, how the parent self-regulates and teaches them to be in that moment, than they are from any of the words that the parents are saying. And so I love working with parents, because when a parent learns to become more present, that means they're less reactive with their kids. uh, the more present we get, typically the more compassionate and understanding we can be. We can't have compassion for other people at a level that we haven't provided compassion for within ourselves. And so a lot of this goes back to, noticing our thoughts, noticing when our thoughts are judgmental or critical or shameful of ourselves, or noticing when it's like a protective, reactive part of ourselves coming up, or a scared part of ourselves coming up, and actually gaining the tools to self regulate, self soothe, self nurture, self love, provide some space for understanding that, everybody suffers. This is part of the human experience. Just like me, other people are going through their own difficult situations in life, and then bringing some kindness to ourselves in that moment. And the more parents are able to do that for themselves, then the more kids uh, learn how to do that by the example, and also benefit by being around a parent who is less dysregulated and judgmental and reactive and fear-based.
Awesome. Okay. Wow, that's exciting. So you can create that ripple effect on kids. I love that. Okay. Now, whenever we're aiming toward something new, right, Kelly, something different as you established, there's always something we're working in the present. So what are you currently trying to improve or tighten up in your business right now?
I would say one of the most difficult things has been to just be able to articulate what it is that I do, because it is a little bit unique, and because it did start with a meditation studio, but it's really evolved to go so far beyond just meditation. So I have considered like changing the name of the business to remove meditation, even though it will always be a part of what I do. But yeah, that's kind of one thing that I've been toying with, and then another thing that I've just been kind of constantly evolving over time is how to better articulate the benefits and results that people can experience through the work that I do with people, because it's very deep, and it's on the level of the subconscious mind and self-identity.
I understand. It's a little bit, even a little bit abstract for them to understand exactly on a 1 to 2 sentences. What does this really entail?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I get it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I would love for us to step into sci-fi territory just a little bit. Okay. Let's pretend, Kelly, we have a time machine in front of us. Okay. I'm going to add 2 stops there. Okay. First stop, you can go back in time 9 years ago when you created your coaching business, right? And you can give Pascali one piece of business advice you wish you knew back then that you know now, right? In a way, serving other business owners that are listening to us as well. Do you have any that you would like to share with Pascal?
I have a lot. I would say probably the number one thing that I've learned is to focus on how I can be of service for people who are open to doing this deeper work within themselves, and really remove all of my energy and attention from all of the people who might judge or misunderstand or not be interested in this type of work. Because I always tell my kids, like, not everyone likes peaches, but that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the peaches, right? You don't need to like everyone. Not everyone needs to like you. But I feel like in the first several years of the private coaching package, I was trying to speak to a very wide audience. And as time has gone on, I've gotten more comfortable just saying what's true for me. And if someone gets it, they gets it. And if they don't, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But I stopped holding back on the things that I was passionate about talking about, or that I knew would help the right people. And I just really now try to focus on just being for the people who can be helped by having access to this information or perspective or practice or whatever it is. Just focusing on, totally being of service to those people.
Interesting.
And not worrying about being judged or criticized or misunderstood. Yeah.
Right. In a way, it has something to do with what we were talking before, right? About the outcome. It's more like doing your own thing, and it is what it is, and the outcomes will follow, something like that, because it's more truthful to who you are and what you want to do, instead of trying to fit into that box so it makes sense to this type of demographic. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. And if you think about it, we all have a very unique gifts to share with the world. And so the more we can show up in alignment with what's ours to share, and with the loving intention of being of service, the more we can, I think, reach and resonate with the right people who are ready for, the journey or the path that we're here to illuminate. Yeah.
Okay. Now, second stop, Callie. You can pick a moment in time. I know you may have several. In between those 9 years, you started your coaching practice to today. A moment you felt so fulfilled, right? That you were almost like, oh, this is why I started this. Like I said, you may have several, but I want the top of mind, the moment that clicked for you. You have one of those?
I do, actually. I have the honor of coaching an amazing, incredible, mystical 81-year-old woman. And our first session, she told me that she had never felt so understood in her life. And I know firsthand how painful it can be to feel misunderstood, and what a gift it is to listen to people and give them a chance to be fully witnessed in all of their vulnerability and messiness and beauty and power. All feelings are welcome in our sessions, and all parts of the person sitting in front of me are seen as, in their wholeness and their divinity and their innocence. And it just felt like a really huge gift to get to actually, it's that feeling of like, it's in giving that we receive. It's like I'm so filled up and lit up and expanded every time that I have the opportunity to share something with someone that comes from love and helps them feel unconditionally loved and safe and seen and heard, and that we belong.
Amazing. Okay. Now, Callie, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, and by the way, we're going to have all the links in the description, right? But where can people find you best and connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is through my weekly newsletter. So every week I put out a podcast, and then on Sunday I send a weekly newsletter, and it has uplifting, love-based content, and then shares a little bit about a clip from the podcast if people want to dive deeper onto whatever the issue of the newsletter is. So that comes out on Sunday, and it also gives people an opportunity for some weekly reflection and intention setting, which is a really good starting point. Even if you're someone who's not yet ready to meditate, that's a good starting point, is just to, spend a moment each Sunday setting an intention for the week, because that's where what we focus on grows. And so the more clarity we can get on what we would truly love in all aspects of our lives, and more importantly, how we believe having that thing will make us feel, and then choosing to feel that way now is a great baby step in feeling better and feeling happier and feeling more empowered as the co-creator of a life that you love.
Awesome. Okay. Callie, there were a few moments from this chat today that really caught my attention. I'm going to highlight them real quick. Okay. So bear with me.
Okay.
Back to the origin story, when you were sharing that you were struggling with your marriage, your boss, your work, and you were navigating those challenges, right? And then later down the conversation, you were mentioning that everyone has something that's unique, right? And if there's something that I feel like the thing that is most unique about us is the journey, right? Every one of us has a very unique journey path that led us to where we are right now. And you had your own, right, with your origin story. And when you were talking, I was always going back to my thoughts, thinking, oh, okay, in a way, she's serving past Callie, right? In a way, you were struggling. So you had that moment of awareness or something that happened. You went to that retreat and you start doing the thing you're doing today. And that started all that I'm looking at right now. So that is pretty cool, to watch. I would say, which lines up with my second point, which is when you mentioned the awareness is the first step, and I was being onboarded, and you were mentioning the nervous system. So yeah, like when you were giving me the example of the breath work, which I did a while ago, once in my life, but I've never saw it the way you framed it. Like this brings you to the present instead of thinking about the future, stressing about the future, or holding back to the past. It's just like, and that is so true because I haven't realized that, right? Like when you start breathing in a way, you cannot do anything else. You're just trying to focus on you right now. It's
That's
almost
right.
like a trick. I love
It
that.
is.
Okay. And then there's this last part that you said, your quote. I'm potentially going to butcher it, but it's like, we can't have compassion to other people if we can't be compassionate to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And that is so true. And you were talking about kids and being reactive, and I have two boys, right? And that
Okay.
really hits home. One is 4, the other is 8. And I have two brothers, but my oldest brother I don't have a great relationship with. But I notice something I do when my two kids find is I'm aware right now. I'm not being reactive, right? Because I am aware. But it kind of inside of myself, I feel stressed because I'm projecting my relationship with my brother into my two kids with like, if you're thinking about reality, that makes no sense. But if you think about my journey, in a way it makes sense because I'm coming from a fear point of view, which is like, oh, I don't want that to happen to them. That happened to me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that really hits home. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
this is just my long-winded way of saying that I appreciate what you do, Callie. I appreciate you being here and sharing so openly today. Okay. It was great having
Thank
you
you.
on.
It was so nice to meet you, Pedro. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for all that you do.
That's it for this episode. This episode, as well as this podcast, was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help business owners elevate their business to 6, 7, and 8-figure years, all without burning out. If you're looking to grow your business, as well as get the time freedom that you are looking for, visit us at joinpurplecircle.com and see what we can do to help you and your business.